Nimba, Grand Kipmouth, River G, to the coast of Sino, Bassa, Bong, Riverses, Maryland, Margibi, Grand Cru, Bapolu, Grand Jide, and Monserrado. We present to you Nightline Liberia, a primetime talk show loaded with factual news, fresh information, not fiction. Nightline Liberia. We set the tune. We control the airwaves. We are the nation's pride, the biggest platform. Our panelists are some of Liberia's brightest and best political analysts from diverse backgrounds, like Vandala Patrick, Dr. Lester Zomatic Tene, Al Hussein Fadiga, Samson Brown Toole, Daniel Sando, and Eugene Lamin Fangon. Nightline Liberia begins at 8 p.m. with 60 minutes around the country, bringing you updates from LBS correspondents. Nightline Liberia's final segment kicks off with its panelists and pundits from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. as they propound on trending national issues. Nightline Liberia. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
When we work together, there's nothing we cannot overcome as a people. This is why I ask all of you representatives of our people to join me to do the business of the Liberian people by not doing business as usual. I challenge you to join me to think Liberia, love Liberia, and build Liberia.
It's Nightline Liberia every Monday to Friday beginning at 8 p.m. on Elbc Radio, 99.9 FM, and other frequencies around the country.
Hello and welcome to Nightline Liberia on Elbc Radio 99.9 and other frequencies, including LNTV. Tonight, we will be discussing several issues, and the day is Wednesday, our midweek edition of the program Nightline Liberia. Our first topic tonight will be on the audit report on the Liberia Road Access Project, and we have our usual panelists here on the program tonight, where we have Honorable Eugene Fagon, Thomas Goa, Dr. Lester Tenin, Samson Toole from the U.S., Vandala Patrick will be our panelists tonight, and together we will be discussing trending issues here in Liberia. First of all, I said one of the topics tonight will be the audit report on Liberia Road Access Project. And then the next one will be opposition lawmaker Grand Jide County Senator Zoe Penno giving the government a pat on the back for development just within the few months since they took power. And then we'll come back to the coastal area, the coastal line in Sino County, where we will be discussing that issue tonight. So to be a part of the program, we will give our numbers up tonight. And so when we come back after this break, we jumpstart the program. My name is Fadin.
The Department of New Media and Rebranding of the Liberia Broadcasting System presents Nightline Liberia. From the valleys of Liberia to the top of Wologisi Mountain, Nimba, Grand Kipmouth, River G, to the coast of Sino, Bassa, Bong, Riverses, Maryland, Margibi, Grand Cru, Bapolu, Grand Jide, and Monserrado. We present to you Nightline Liberia, a primetime talk show loaded with factual news, fresh information, not fiction. Nightline Liberia. We set the tune. We control the airwaves. We are the nation's pride, the biggest platform. Our panelists are some of Liberia's brightest and best political analysts from diverse backgrounds, like Vandala Patrick, Dr. Lester Zomatic Tene, Al Hussein Fadiga, Samson Brown Toole, Daniel Sando, and Eugene Lamin Fangon. Nightline Liberia begins at 8 p.m. with 60 minutes around the country, bringing you updates from LBS correspondents. Nightline Liberia's final segment kicks off with its panelists and pundits from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. as they propound on trending national issues. Nightline Liberia. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
When we work together, there's nothing we cannot overcome as a people. This is why I asked all of you representatives of our people to join me to do the business of the Liberian people by not doing business as usual. I challenge you to join me to think Liberia, love Liberia, and build it.
It's Nightline Liberia every Monday to Friday beginning at 8 p.m. on Elbc Radio, 99.9 FM and other frequencies around the country.
7 years of Biafra.
Welcome back to Nightline Liberia with me, Fabienne Kuya. Let me welcome our panelists tonight. Good evening, Vandala Patricks.
Well, Fabienne, good evening, and good evening to my fellow panelists in Radio Land and to the listening public across Liberia. I am very happy to be here this evening. And it's always good to be here at ELBC. Thank you.
Thank you, Vandala, and welcome, Thomas Gore. How are you this evening?
I'm good. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, like Vandala said. I'm good. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, like Vandala said. Be among distinguished people like Vanilla Patrick and others, as we talk to our people, among distinguished people like Vanilla Patrick and others. You need to check your people, Mike, in studio. You need to check your mic in studio. All right.
Okay, something to.
All right.
Yeah, good evening. I'm not too sure if I'm audible.
Are you there, Thomas?
Yeah, good evening. I'm not too sure if I'm audible. Okay. So,
you are audible, Samson. Good evening.
Thank you. I'm
welcome to the show.
Again, happy to be here tonight. And I'm thank you. I'm Nigerians that have this here tonight. And I'm happy to be here. Nigerians that have this.
I think you need to check your mic. Probably is
happy to be here.
I think you need to check your mic. Probably is
if okay, that's much better. So again,
yes, it's been checked. Can you hear me?
So, okay, that's much better. So again, happy to be here tonight. I'm still having a delay. Let's go ahead.
We will be joined later on by.
I'm still having a delay. Let's go ahead.
Samson, are you still there?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Samson?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. And we will be joined by Eugene Fagon later on, along with Daniel Sando and Dr. Lester Tenning to form part of this program as panelists tonight to discuss several issues that we earlier outlined on the program. First of all, we want to begin with the much awaited and much talked about audit that were in parts, but to be precise, we will start with the Liberia Road Access Project. And today, all eyes were set at the Capitol, especially the legislature, where the Auditor General was there to present his audit reports. And so we've followed the audit reports, and specifically, we will be talking about the first portion of the Road Access Project. And that part, according to the Auditor General, it reveals significant financial and operational irregularities by the Ministry of Public Works. And now let's set this straight on the program. People should not think that this audit report is being in line with the current government. that report is from the past government, so people should understand that this report is not reflecting on the current government, but rather the past government, because this is just the onset. And so we have to have that record straight tonight so people won't be misled or confused. So as I was saying, the audit report conducted by the Auditor General on financial statements uncover multiple financial and operational discrepancies. There were concerns raised during the period from July 1, 2021 to December 2022. And there were key findings in that report, and we've been following. So, what are some of the key findings that you think were in a report that affected mainly the contractors that we had around here as it relates to the road access project? Yeah.
Who refer to? Refer to?
Can you hear me, Thomas?
Yeah, right.
I think having some difficulties.
Yeah, right.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, could you just kind of quickly repeat? Oh, could you just kind of quickly repeat?
Okay, all right.
Not
So,
working.
all right. So if you can hear me, okay, something is also there. If you can hear me, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I mentioned about the other report on Liberia Rural Access Project that was conducted by the Auditor General of the Republic of Liberia. And in that audit report conducted by the AG, he uncovered multiple financial and operational discrepancies within the rural access project. Concerns were raised covering the period from July 1, 2021 to December 2022. What were some of the key findings within our report? Because it talks about discrepancies and it talks about multiple financial problems. So, can you spell out some of the key concerns that were
Yeah,
raised, especially
So some of
with
the
the road?
key findings included financial discrepancies. There were operational irregularities, as well as inadequate documentation, where there were proper documentation for expenses and contracts. And then there was also failure in tax compliance. Okay, there's one specific aspect where withholding of taxes on financial statement disclosures there was also issue of a lack of oversight, poor financial management, and possible corruption, which was indicated as intentional neglect or manipulation of financial records to misappropriate funds. So people created like falsified documents to steal some money in the simplest term. That's how you describe it. But one of the parts that actually caught my attention was the part that talked about the contractors and the tax non-compliance. So you had contractors like is that Cico or Chico that failed to deduct and remit taxes, so in totaling like $1 million to Liberian government. So that's a broad daylight stealing, and I we look forward to seeing that there are some recommendations. That let's say I am looking forward to seeing that there will be prosecutions. There will be the appropriate laws that will be followed to make sure that these things are not repeated. But then those who already committed the acts are brought to book, and if need be, there should be restitution. I don't want to jump into quick conclusion because after the GAC, there's the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission that needs to prosecute some of these cases as they see it fit. But these are actually grave concerns. The Liberian people will be. I mean, right now I can tell you that Liberians are hurt. They are very angry. They want to see that these reports are taken seriously and that they are investigated. So as we, discuss tonight, I am hoping that people,
Okay.
as we, discuss tonight, I am hoping that people. So I'm hearing your feedback, but hoping that the Liberian people will also contribute on the show, make your calls. Make your calls, make your voices heard, so that what you want can be given to you, according to how the government promised to deliver services to you people. So tonight, do not hesitate to make your calls so that you can make your voices heard, even as we are here also, speaking on behalf and also expressing our own opinions about these audit reports. Speaking on behalf and also expressing our own opinions about these audit reports.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So let's go to Samson. Samson, can you hear me? The GSE audit report highlighted the issues of financial discrepancies and irregularities, as well as operational inefficiency. So what do you make of that portion of the report?
Thank you, Fabian. Again, good evening to all of you. Like I said, I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Fabian. Again, good evening to all of you. Like I said, I'm an engineer here, roadway engineer here in the state of California, doing California roadway design. And so I am quite familiar with the, not necessarily the money aspect of it, because I try to take myself out of the money aspect of the Liberian road process. I am a designer, and so I try to come to these kinds of conversation as a designer. Now, having said that, does not mean that I'm naive in the policy or what have you that is going on. And these issue with the road fund, the audit report, whatever that is being taken out, I will let the auditors and those who are responsible to investigate and prosecute, I will let them do their work, and I do not want to stay ahead of them. Second thing here, I'm at a disadvantage when it comes to that because I do not have the report on hand. However, I think if Liberians, as President Baka stated on many occasions, corruption is a cancer. And if Liberians and Liberians people are able to manage their resources well, we're all going to benefit from it. And so if somebody is taking something that does not belong to you, and it can be proven, whatever the law prescribes in terms of punishment, that should be given to that person. So the report itself, I do not have that on hand. However, most of the things that is happening in the country, like they talk about contractors not paying their fair share and what have you, contractors are there to make money, and they will do everything possible to make money. It left with the authorities, those who are inspecting, these inspectors, the public works minister, and everyone else that are responsible to safeguard the resources, the meager resources of the Liberian people. If they do their work well, we will succeed. And this is where I'm coming from tonight. So as you corrected today before the show, we all have 1 minute, 30 seconds. So I want to stick with I'll do my best to stick with that here tonight. Thank you very much. 30 seconds. So I want to stick with I'll do my best to stick with that here tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fandela. You listen to your colleagues here on the program talking about the road access project and the operational irregularities. So what do you make of that? Because in reality, it reflects on the past. And so the person is trying to right the wrongs in all that have been published, if not all, but some percentage. So what do you make of that portion of the GSE audit report today that went trending?
Prior to this report on Fabian, it was clear that corruption is entrenched in public institutions. And as such, we need a legally robust policymakers, or legally ruthless, if I should put it that way, to implement the law without fear or favor. You see, the culture of impunity in this country has undermined national development for several years. Sometimes, I stand to be corrected, in 2016, not 2016, I think 2018, the government came up with a brilliant idea to level taxes on fuel, oil, and gas. And everyone that rides cars in this country, motorcycles, 25 cents and 30 cents was charged on every gallon of gas and fuel. So you and I pay, as long as you have car or you ride motorbike, money was raised. Significant amount for road maintenance. But it's regretful that after Liberians were made, I believe maybe we were cajoled with the understanding that there will be proper maintenance of our roads, there will be road rehabilitation, to have heard about an audit report that speaks more about corruption, that the money was not intended, it was not used for the intended purpose. It speaks volumes. And this is where the integrity of this president, His Excellency Joseph Yuma Boaka, is going to be tested. Over the period of time, leaders will make pronouncements that they will take steps to implement the laws to the letter. When the process started, they diverted or abandoned the process. No political will. I hope that His Excellency Joseph Yuma Boaka will develop this political will, his political will, in the midst of competing challenges, in the midst of political connections. Maybe someone I have not read a report yet, but from what I have read in the newspaper, millions of dollars were siphoned. Who were those involved? We don't know. But when their names are brought out and prosecution starts, we are asking those around the president to stop the business as usual mentality. We want His Excellency Joseph Yuma Boaka, President of the Republic of Liberia, to put this country in the right trajectory so that there will not be business as usual. We hope that the implementation of the audit report will not be based on biases. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vendelak, and thank you to the panelists that propounded on the first question concerning the road project. As you may be aware, the reports also reveal that the infrastructure implementation of the Ministry of Public Works failed to deduct and remit withholding taxes amounting to several thousands of US dollars. And the Chico and Seco companies, they had unpaid claims for routine maintenance and services. How do we reconcile that when the present government of President Joseph Yuma Boaka in his arrest agenda highlighted rows, and rows, though the report did not reflect on this government? So how do we reconcile that, and what do we need to do to fit in that aspect?
I don't know if the question is directed to me, but I would say that audit reports are meant to find issues if there are any. It could be compliance, could be financial. And with what we have now, we have a series of issues that we've seen that have come up. And so when it comes to how we can reconcile these issues, I think one would be for this government to do everything within its power to ensure the strengthening of regulatory oversight. All right, that means ensuring that contractors comply with whatever tax regulations we have. The necessary authorities should ensure that they step up their games to ensure that these people are complying. We also need to institute accountability measures All right, meaning that we need to implement strict penalty for non-compliance. In Liberia, sometimes companies violate our laws, we find them, and then at the end of the day, we kind of relax the punishment, and sometimes these punishments are not even carried out. So we need to get away from that culture of impunity and ensure that these things are happening. And these things should be done, these actions should be taken transparently. All right. So we need to make sure that financial and operational processes are more transparent to prevent these things. When we institute these measures, when we find these people, for example, we should ensure that it is public. Surrounding these things are public, and the people can see that actions are taken. These people were actually punished and all of that. There's a lot more to this because with all these corruptions, they affect the government. It affects the government ability to implement other projects, and then as a result,
Can you hear me? Thomas, are you there? All right. Let's see whether we can have something chipping into this on the issue still about those companies like Chico and Seco that did not disclose or whatever deduction or remitting tax that totaled over millions of dollars. Is it that they were not fair in the process, or was the deal done to the extent that they decided to remain mute on certain things, not until the GSC report or the GSC audit revealed such?
Thank you. I think without having a report here, it's difficult, but I will do my best. I think those who are asked to join in to manage the affair of the government should have known better. And they should have been able to stay within the confines of the law. Now, all of these contracting and what have you, they have law. It's not like they don't have a law on the book in Liberia. They do have laws. The contract law is there. And the Ministry of Public Works main purpose is to manage the contracting process of Liberia in terms of infrastructure. So it's there. Now, another thing that I feel bad for all of us, there are certain Liberians, and I'm just speaking in general terms right now, there are certain Liberians that do not have Liberia at heart. And so they use this opportunity to enrich themselves by getting in cahoots with the contractor and what have you, and then they go on to take money from contractor, and not just the contractor, they go and take kickback. Okay, I'm in the engineering business, and I'm in constant contact with folks back when I know these things. Okay, but that's not my place to come and diverge what is happening. That's between the government and whoever is doing it. But the main purpose here is, if these reports are true, that people are taking money that don't belong to them. This is not, Liberia is not a cow elephant meat that after this government leave, the other one come in, then they take some of the meat. And then next time, we have to put stop to these things. And the only way it's going to be able to happen, though I am a liberal, I don't prescribe to these kinds of stuff, putting people in jail, reestablishing better yada and stuff like that. But if that's what it's going to take for young, like the point is, most of us are old now. And there are young people that are still struggling, trying to come up. If there's no structure, if there's no money to do anything in the country, how do you expect these young people that are so fair, that are trying their best to stay above water, how do you expect them to fill in these gaps and make Liberia the better country that it's supposed to be? So because of this corrupt behavior of certain Liberians among us who have no interest in the progress of the Republic of Liberia, except for themselves, those people must be identified and apply the law that is required to deal with such person. And if the punishment for that law violation of that law. If it requires for that person to go to jail, so be it. As a liberal, I'm not going to cry much on it because that person have violated the law according to the rule. And then if that person is found guilty, they need to go to jail. Now, in terms of the contractor, let me say again, I used to be a contractor here in the United States. The intent of a contractor is to make money. They do it here, not by bribing, but they have what they call condition change. It rained yesterday. So when it rained yesterday, where I was supposed to take the road and take the mud, it's all muddy now. The conditions have changed. I want more money. Okay, they have what they call CCO. Those are the legal way of establishing the contractor to get more money. But you cannot bribe people because you want them to be quiet for you to do the wrong thing. Take, for example, the RRA role. What kind of mess is that? The people that are there, the engineers, they are very smart people in Liberia, good engineers in Liberia, but they will sit down and do nothing while these foreigners come in our country and do these kinds of stuff to us. So I'm not going to sit there and wholly blame the contractors that are not paying their part of their share. They promise to do it, but if you can put money in somebody else's pocket and not pay what it's supposed to pay, for example, they're supposed to pay $10, they get a person $2, and the person says, okay, go ahead, no, take the $8 for yourself. Why would the contract not take it? Do you want a contract to complain? No, he's not going to complain. Therefore, the people that are clothed with this type of information to fight for us, fight on our behalf, they need to do better than what is happening. And under this president, things are coming to light. And that's what I enjoy this president. And I love this president because things are coming to light. The president is not here to go and buy code suit all over the place. He's here to put structure for the young people to come tomorrow and enjoy themselves with this beautiful, beautiful country we have. And enjoy themselves with this beautiful, beautiful country we have.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Thomas. Vandalak, you heard your colleagues now. I'm going back to the findings because there were several concerns raised, especially about financial management, with two keywords, transparency and accountability within that project that we are talking about, the road access project. So the two contractors, Seco and Chico, they did not deduct and remit taxes. And you know that taxes do build a nation or countries around the world. Why do you think they decided to be the way they acted just by not remitting and deducting? Because that amount is so huge as it relates to the two contractors, Chico and Seco, or millions of dollars.
Yeah, Fabian. We have this common saying in Liberia, when you go to China, you should act like the Chinese. So those Chinese came to Liberia and they are acting like Liberians. I am sure they have followed the pattern of corruption in this country. I see my own big brother blowing the trumpet of the president. I love this president. I will only be happy if this president convict or prosecute those that are found culpable of looting state resources in this country. We see them behind bars. I'll be one of those that will really dance the bangma on the streets of Monrovia, because we've seen previous president coming, celebrating, and people say, yeah, things will go. At the end of the day, they don't do it. But let me say this. I think the issue of accountability and transparency, it should start with members of the national legislature. I'm sitting here very disappointed because they have the oversight responsibility, three cardinal responsibilities of members of the national legislature, whether a senator or a member of the House of Representatives: lawmaking, oversight, and representation. So why should they wait in the first place for someone to steal from the Liberian people, keep us in poverty, and at the end of the day, after the money is siphoned, then we want to hold public institutions or the heads of public institutions accountable? Look, in as much as we welcome the audit, I think if our lawmakers were carrying on significant oversight responsibilities, they were doing it with accountability and transparency and love for country, I think many of these problems will have been halted along the way. Imagine 2 years. I'm just reading the front page Africa report, March 29, to be specific, 2023. When taxes were level on fuel and that of gas, the Liberia Revenue Authority collected $53,018,871. Out of this money, they deposited the entire money into what they describe consolidated, fund account instead of the National Road Fund by law. Because when this National Road Fund was established, I think sometime 2018, and the government came up with the policy that, when you collect the taxes with level taxes on gas, and the money that will be generated from there, will use it for the purpose of rehabilitating the roads and building new ones. Everybody said it was a very good idea. Now the LRA went to work. They did a very good job. They collected $53 million, 18,871. Instead of them depositing this money, they turned the money to the government. But this money was deposited into what they described at that time, the consolidated, fund account instead of the National Road Fund. But guess what? Out of this money that was deposited, 24,866,637 was not remitted. So the question is, who siphoned over $24 million? The problem we have in this country is not just about holding contractors. Imagine foreigners coming in this country and they steal from us. They are going with impunity. And believe me, many Liberians, they don't believe in activism. We don't believe in policy-driven ideas. As soon as persecution starts, you will find some of the very victims of corruption coming in defense of these criminals. So sometimes I want to agree with what Flo Lumumba said, that iconic leader, from Africa, specifically Kenya. He said Africans are not moved by ideas. They are moved by what goes in their stomach at times. We know the rules. The question is why the GAC did not use this report to prosecute these people in the past. It's simple. People did not have the political will. And citizens were not standing up. And sometimes when you stand up to question the government, the very victims will say, oh, but the thing may happen is tormented like you, like I want to know how to change this country. And this is where I am placing emphasis on this government. We want the UP-led government to bring justice to the poor. We want His Excellency Joseph Numa Boaka, President of the Republic of Liberia, as he said before the show started, he said business will not be as usual. Mm-hmm. We hope His Excellency will act in full concert with the laws of morality and the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. If we begin to prosecute 1 or 2, 3 persons, it will send a signal that business is not going to be as usual. And I'm happy that the debate has started, but what makes me angry at times, we create the condition, we debate the issues, we create publicity on the prosecution of people caught in the audit report. At the end of the day, they will sweep it under the carpet. I hope that this will not be business as usual. I am still confident that this president will move in the direction of prosecuting people no matter who is involved.
So for just what you said, in my mind, I believe once the other reports are out from the GAC, if not all, because that's a huge number we have, and so it will be done in parts. I'm sure that will not be swept underneath the carpet. They will be prosecuted if they are found guilty, and Liberians hope to see some results as it relates to this audit report or to these audit reports, because for what we are reading and seeing, there are too many things. There are too many inefficiencies within that report that just can be swept underneath the carpet. So for the Public Works Ministry failing to reveal the deduction and remittance of withholding taxes amounting to over $110, I think the infrastructure implementation unit of the public works should be held accountable, and those that were in the employ at that time that managed the road access project or program at that time should be held responsible to account for these monies. Because if we leave them like that, it's going to spark up in another thing, and Liberians won't be feeling fine over the idea or whatever or results that will come out. Because as I said, a lot of people have been yearning to hear this report, and now they have started coming up. I think we need to get more of that so that people involved with it will not go with impunity.
Yeah, quickly, we should not be carried away by certain things, because some of those who are now raising the alarm in the legislature, they were there. They did not carry on oversight responsibility. They knew that crimes were committed, money was siphoned. They did not. They sat down there and the money was stolen. Today, they are appearing like political angels. While it's true that we appreciate them, but we have to be careful. What are the intentionality of their action is meant to buy public sentiment to say, we are not part of it. But I place responsibility on members of the national legislature. We can fight corruption from the 3 branches of government. If these people were regularly going from one minister to another, especially the Minister of Public Works, to do checks and balances, they have oversight responsibility. Why they sat there and millions of dollars were stolen? Why? I think they should also be held accountable. That's why many of them did not go back. Okay. And I'm hoping that President Barker, not just President Barker, but the 3 branches of government, they will act in line with the law. It's possible that the executive will say we'll prosecute. One group of people will say we don't have the evidence to proceed. So I am still hesitant to say, okay, I trust the process, but I'm hoping that this process will go through rule of law, and that the corporate who stole our money, they will be put behind bars and convicted.
All right. So I will now go back to Samson, who I'm sure has received the report that I just forwarded to him. And my concern, I'm still concerned, Samson, about unpaid claims totaling to over $5 or $6 million for routine maintenance services that were provided by the contractors. So with that money, because they refuse to deduct and remit withholding taxes amounting to several thousands and millions of dollars, how do we see that being possible for the remittance that?
I hope that I'm audible because you're breaking here for a minute. But let me just say that if I'm audible. Yes, I got a report. Thank you very much. The report is very specific in most area. So again, they as my good brother just stated, Mr. Patrick just stated, the contractor, many of the contractors are foreigners. So when they come to Liberia, they see what Liberians are doing to themselves. They say, I can help you. As long as I can put money in my pocket and go build my country, I don't care. I can help you. I can help you do more corruption because I don't live here. So that's set aside. Now, the money here, the company themselves, if they are taxed to put money into the cover of the Liberian government, and there are processes in many of the institutions that these contractors have to follow. I'm sure if you owe, like, say, $1 million, you're not going to go withdraw $1 million and put it in your bank. I'm sure there are processes involved, how you pay that $1 million. And we all here in the United States, many of us here are not rich, but we get things. And how do you get those things? You borrow. But as long as you are sincere paying, they will deal with you. Even if you owe $2 million, they will still deal with you because they know you're going to pay. That kinds of respect and that kinds of ability must be forced from these foreigners by Liberians. But if a Liberian is charged to guide these people, to somehow watch these people, and they say, I have not eaten all day, can I get something? The guy said, well, if I give you something, can you overlook this? And he agrees. It affects all of us. I'll make it short. So that's I'll come back to that. Thank you. I'll make it short. So that's I'll come back to that. Thank you.
So can you hear me? Are you there? Concerning the Liberia Road Access Management Project, specifically it landed into this kilometers, 153 kilometers project that runs from Elbc Junction, ELW Junction to Ganta City, Nima County. With all the monies and the withholding of taxes, those projects were not totally completed. They didn't reach 100% completion. So how do we go about that with the report that has been out today by the GSC? Because I said earlier, and I did mention concerning the arrest agenda of President Joseph Boyka, rose. Prior to that, before the report could come out, a lot of people were thinking that if the report is out and people are being connected or implemented, they should be prosecuted. Do you think with this report concerning the road access management project, we will have people being prosecuted like we have for LEC, they're having the prosecutorial power?
You are muted.
Thomas?
Oh, this is going to Thomas?
Okay, that's where we had a conflict. So I thought he was going. Okay, yeah. So my thing is, first, I have another Patrick, questioning the president's intent, the president's commitment to, prosecuting corruption and being committed to moving this country forward. Let's be frank, you and I know that the president has always invited people who he asks to come and work with him in the spirit of not doing business as usual. And he has shown in so many cases, that he means what he's saying. We can see, for example, for the past, several years, let's talk about the two regimes before his regime, the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf regime and the CDC regime. These people promised, for example, to prosecute war crimes in Liberia. We saw that when they got into power, it was a different story. But for President Boyka, you can see that immediately as he assumed power, one of his campaign promises, which was, setting up a war and economic crimes code, came to fruition. So this is a man that is doing what he promised he would do. So I wouldn't want us to doubt him on those kind of issues. I believe that he's going to do what he promised. If you have interacted with him, I know Mr. Boyka from nowhere, but just by meeting and sitting with him the other time, I saw that there's an old man who has a lot of wisdom. If you sit around him, you wouldn't even want to leave because he imparts knowledge even while he's, discussing with his officials. With this corruption thing, we all know Liberia. Corruption in this country was declared a public enemy number one before, as we know. Somewhere down the line, it was difficult and it wasn't rooted out. The CDC government came into power and they came with the intention that, yes, we are here to steal. It was obvious. Some of the officials of government at the time, like the party chairman of CDC, said this is our time. It was also echoed by the VP at the time that this is our time. This is our time to steal. This is our time to pillage, the country. And they did what they could do. So these audit reports for me are not, they are not, I'm not surprised at what we are saying because these people came with the intention that this is our time to do, what we can do, to steal, do what we can do, pillage the country, grab our own because Liberia is basically an elephant meat. And they did it. So what we should actually be looking at today is to encourage this government to do everything it can within its power to ensure that those that are supposed to be prosecuted be prosecuted. But it's important to note that some of these audit reports that we are seeing are not conclusive, or even if they are conclusive, there are recommendations that the GSC is going to come up with. Some of the recommendations are really not going to be prosecution. There will be for some of these government agencies to ensure that they put measures in place, or compliance measures in place to ensure that these things don't happen again. Some of them may not be actual money that was stolen. Some will be the way records were put together, documentation, lack of evidence. People, for example, go and purchase stuff that did not get receipt for, or, like, for example, at the LBS, there's an issue. There was an issue with one of the audit reports, and the GSC came up with a recommendation about employees' files. You had the compliance is that the requirements are if someone is employed on an institution, you should make sure that you have their application to that job, their profile, including their resume, okay, and their biodata, everything, all of their files, everything that pertains to that employee, when they apply, when they got employed, the processes, everything is supposed to be within that file. So when the GSC did an audit, they found that these were some of the issues. Files were missing, information were missing, and they recommended that the HR department ensures that these things are corrected. So some of it is going to be recommendation to correct the issues. Some of it, I'm sure they are going to request for prosecution, and that will be left with the LACC. So we look up to the LACC to ensure that people are prosecuted for what they are alleged to have committed. And I really feel that if it's about this government is going to make sure that people are prosecuted. I don't have any doubt in President Bouakai about prosecuting crimes in this country. I have any doubt in President Bouakai about prosecuting crimes in this country.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Shortly, we take the news at 9, and then we come back after the news to continue with the discussion.
The Department of New Media and Rebranding of the Liberia Broadcasting System presents Nightline Liberia. From the valleys of Liberia to the top of Wologisi Mountain, Nimba, Grand Kipmau, River G, to the coast of Sino, Bassa, Bong, Riverses, Maryland, Margibi, Grand Cru, Bapolu, Grand Jide, and Monserrado. We present to you Nightline Liberia, a primetime talk show loaded with factual news, fresh information, not fiction. Nightline Liberia. We set the tune. We control the airwaves. We are the nation's pride, the biggest platform. Our panelists are some of Liberia's brightest and best political analysts from diverse backgrounds, like Vandela Patrick, Dr. Lester Zumatic Tene, Al Hussein Fadiga, Samson Brown Toole, Daniel Sando, and Eugene Lamin Fangon. Nightline Liberia begins at 8 p.m. with 60 minutes around the country, bringing you updates from LBS correspondents. Nightline Liberia's final segment kicks off with its panelists and pundits from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. as they propound on trending national issues. Nightline Liberia. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
When we work together, there's nothing we cannot overcome as a people. This is why I asked all of you representatives of our people to join me to do the business of the Liberian people by not doing business as usual. I challenge you to join me to think Liberia, love Liberia, and build Liberia.
It's Nightline Liberia every Monday to Friday beginning at 8 p.m. on Elbc Radio, 99.9 FM, and other frequencies around the country.
Good evening. ELBC News Bulletin is read by Koluba Zize. In the headlines, Saudi Arabia leads latest array of foreign diplomats in presenting credentials to President Joseph Boakai. Liberia Broadcasting System top management begins tour of substations across the country. Grangida County Senator Zoe Penner hails government for massive road rehabilitation in Softin, Liberia. And away from home, 48 boys rescued from circumcision camp after abduction in Zambia. The ambassador designate of Saudi Arabia, Saad bin Hami, was among an array of diplomats who presented their credentials to President Joseph Boakai in Monrovia Wednesday. Saudi Arabia has been helpful in assisting Liberia solve persistent food insecurity and other critical interventions in the areas of health and education over the years. Other countries that presented letters of credence include Turkey, Indonesia, Rwanda, Zambia, and Austria. President Joseph Boakai, during the occasion, lauded the social and economic impact of each country in the development process of Liberia. The Liberian leader also called for enhanced bilateral relations aimed at creating better opportunities for the benefit of their respective countries and peoples. Development partners and foreign missions accredited to Liberia have pledged logistical support to the Rabas International Airport. They promise to provide assortment of equipment, including automatic switches, to upgrade the nation's biggest airport. According to our reporter, the development partners and foreign missions made a commitment Wednesday at the close of day-long stakeholders engagement at the Rabas International Airport. In remarks, Brussels Airlines country manager Marjolaine Six expressed delight over the gathering and pledged the airline's support to improve services at the RIA. The event was intended to get first-hand information on challenges affecting the RIA and how the country's partners can intervene to make the airport viable. It was also attended by United States Chargé Affairs Catherine Rodriguez, French and German ambassadors to Liberia, among others. Meanwhile, Liberia Civil Aviation Authority Director General Julius Dennis thanked the foreign diplomats for their continued support to Liberia. Mr. Dennis has craved for more donor support to upgrade the Rabas International Airport to meet present-day realities. The Liberia Civil Aviation Authority Director General spoke Wednesday at the end of a one-day stakeholders engagement with foreign diplomats at RIA. He said though government is making significant progress to improve the RIA, such endeavor can only be achieved with support from development partners. The Liberia Civil Aviation Authority boss is optimistic that the one-day stakeholder engagement with foreign diplomats will bring the necessary changes the RIA needs. The Liberia Broadcasting System Management will begin its first lead assessment tour of its substations across the country. A 19-man delegation headed by the LBS Director General Eugene Fagon will leave for Bombing County Thursday. Mr. Fagon said the tour is intended to revitalize the substations and improve the system. He assured Liberians of his administration's commitment in the dissemination of information across the country through the state broadcaster. Grangida County Senator Zoe Emmanuel Penner has commended government for the rehabilitation of the Southeastern Road. Senator Penner said the rehabilitation of the Southeastern Road is a major boost to business transactions in the area. He noted the move by the administration has eased the huge transportation burden endured by citizens of southeastern counties over the years. The Grangida County lawmaker added that the current condition of the road have reduced transportation fares and prices of major commodities. Senator Pennant also thanked President Joseph Boakai for prioritizing the needs of citizens in the southeast of the country. The Education Ministry, in collaboration with the United Nations Children Fund, the UNICEF, has embarked on an intensive training targeting more than 600 school administrators. A team from the ministry and UNICEF is currently in Webo, Maryland County, conducting training for the first batch of administrators in Maryland, River G, and Grand Gila counties. Education Ministry Director of PTA and Community Outreach, Charles Conan, said the National Social School Quality Standard Training is targeting over 200 schools in 12 of the 15 counties.
We decided to now acquire some resources to build capacity of leadership comprising the principal, the vice principal for instruction, and the PTA chair from 200 schools across 12 counties of the Republic of Liberia.
He noted that the training followed assessment carried out by the ministry on a poor implementation of the delivery of quality education in schools. Mr. Connor said capacity building will fast-track quality presentation of the curriculum in the classroom. The Deputy Executive Director for Equality Assurance at the National Commission of Higher Education, Solomon Jalayu, has called on young Liberians to acquire specialized skills. According to Mr. Jalayu, getting specialized skills are a gateway for possible employment. He also said it can drive innovation, entrepreneurship, and lead to identifying opportunities. Mr. Jalayu spoke Wednesday in Painesville at the launch of the Renaissance Consulting and Development Institute. Meanwhile, Institute Chief Executive Officer John Gray disclosed the entity will provide career development training, community services, mentorship, and leadership training in Liberia. A Ugandan agro-business investor, Dawson Musa Zizi, has pledged to hugely invest in the agriculture sector of the country. Mr. Musa Zizi said his decision to support the country's agriculture industry is aimed at facilitating government's efforts to advance the economy. In an ELBC interview Tuesday, Mr. Musa Zizi emphasized the need for government to provide him farmland to embark on an impactful agriculture initiative. He also encouraged Liberians, especially young people, to embrace agriculture to make Liberia self-sufficient in food production. The renowned Ugandan agro-businessman also hailed President Joseph Boakai for the arrest agenda and called for more political will in its full implementation. You are listening to a bulletin of news from ELBC, the radio service of the Liberia Broadcasting System. We broadcast from Painesville. The people of Balpolu County are expected to benefit from electricity for the first time. It followed the issuance of a composite macro utility license to Energy City Liberia, a local utility company in the county. The license was issued Wednesday to the company by the Liberia Electricity Regulatory Commission. The Liberia Electricity Regulatory Commission Board Chairman Dr. Lawrence Sikajipo said Energy City Liberia will generate power like LEC and distribute same to the county through commercial arrangement. Meanwhile, Energy City Regional Director Nima Kiza Habi extolled government through the LERC for granting the company license and assured the residents of quality service. The agreement will run for 20 years, covering Henrytown, Bama, Zuo, Smithtown, Wesua, and Bopolu City, respectively. Lofa County Superintendent Lavla Masakwe has issued a ban on cattle farming in Foya District, Lofa County. It followed the destruction of over 8 acres of crops by troubling cattle in Foya. Superintendent Masakwa said the increasing wave of cattle farming in the area is posing serious threat to crops in the district. According to our correspondent, the crops destroyed by the cattle include rice, beans, and cassava, among others. Meanwhile, owners of the cattle have pledged to undertake the cost of the damaged crops. The president of the National Christian Council of Liberia, Bishop Rudolph Marsh, has called for strong stakeholders' collaboration for the growth and development of Liberia. Bishop Marsh said it is important for every Liberian, stakeholders and religious leaders to work along with government in attracting more investments to the country. He says such collaboration is key to improving the country and creating more job opportunities for the youthful population. Bishop Marsh urged religious leaders to always preach positive messages about the country and embrace dialogue in resolving grievances. Montserrado County Senator Darius Dillon believes the strengthening of oversight by the legislature will compel government ministries and agencies to do the right thing. Senator Dillon, who chairs the Foreign Affairs Committee, says the move is to promote transparency and accountability in the use of public funds. He emphasized the need for every allotment in the national budget be itemized and activity-driven to track the performance of expanding entities. Senator Dillon, however, urged his colleagues to exercise effective and robust oversight to meet the public trust. He disclosed that the Senate's recent retreat in Grand Bassa County was to develop ideas on how to strengthen their oversight in order to achieve the needed result. And away from Liberia, 48 boys in Zambia have been rescued from a mass circumcision camp after desperate complaints by some parents that their children had been abducted. Officials confirmed that one of the boys was on HIV medication and had not taken his antiretroviral drugs for 2 weeks. Secretive traditional rites of passage ceremonies see boys between 10 and 17 years old spending up to 6 months in seclusion in the bush. The authorities said the site on the outskirts of the Livingstone town near a national wildlife park had been set up without permission, alleging the children were caged in dangerous condition. And to end the Elbc News Bulletin, here again are the main stories. Saudi Arabia leads latest array of foreign diplomats in presenting credentials to President Joseph Boakai. Liberia Broadcasting System top management begins tour of substations across the country. Grand County Senator Zoe Pena hails government for massive road rehabilitation in southeastern Liberia. And away from home, 48 boys rescued from circumcision camp after abduction.
The Department of New Media and Rebranding of the Liberia Broadcasting System presents Nightline Liberia. From the valleys of Liberia to the top of Wologisi Mountain, Nimba, Grand Kipmouth, River G, to the coast of Sino, Bassa, Bong, Riverses, Maryland, Margibi, Grand Cru, Bapolu, Grand Jide, and Monserrado. We present to you Nightline Liberia, a primetime talk show loaded with factual news, fresh information, not fiction. Nightline Liberia. We set the tune. We control the airwaves. We are the nation's pride, the biggest platform. Our panelists are some of Liberia's brightest and best political analysts from diverse backgrounds, like Vandela Patrick, Dr. Lester Zomatic Tene, Al Hussein Fadiga, Sansin Brown Toole, Daniel Sando, and Eugene Lamin Fangon. Nightline Liberia begins at 8 p.m. with 60 minutes around the country, bringing you updates from LBS correspondents. Nightline Liberia begins around the country, bringing you updates from LBS correspondents. Nightline Liberia.
Welcome back to Nightline Liberia after the news bulletin, the regular future year on the program Nightline Liberia. This is to inform our listeners that the program is being relayed on LNTV, so you can follow us live on LNTV and you will be part of this discussion. Well, at 9:30, we will be opening our lines to interact with our callers tonight on the issues that we've been discussing and we will be discussing tonight. So earlier we started with the road project from the road access project from the audit report today. And so we have the last portion and then we slip into Grand Jida County Senator Zoe Penner issue, which is related with road. And so we will go back now to have the last portion of this road project, which has to do with the World Bank. And the World Bank, according to that report, reduced the contribution of the government of Liberia for the road maintenance from over $47 million to $35 million. Why was it so? Because the other report revealed that there were no evidence that the government made contributions towards road maintenance. And so how did we get there? Because if you have the World Bank, which is one of your biggest partners in the country, reducing your money from that amount from $47 million to $35 million, and then in the other report, it revealed that there was no evidence that the government of Liberia contributed or made contributions towards the road maintenance project. I'm so concerned. How did we actually get there? Well, we have other panelists joining us tonight, Koto Jala Balayan and Sise Goya. They will form part of the program tonight to discuss issues. So, Vandala, you just heard me concerning the issue about the World Bank, reducing that amount that the Liberian government said it was contributing for road maintenance from 47.8 million to 35. That is in the report, the other report that was revealed today. And then the report also said that there was no evidence to show that the government made such contributions towards the maintenance of the road. So how did we get there?
I think it was counterproductive. World Bank has always supported governments in Liberia. They are committed to that. But when World Bank gives a government money for the sole purpose of using that money for the internal purpose or whatever, and there's no accountability, it scares your donors. It's almost like you are paying someone school fees and you are expecting them to bring the grade sheet at the end of every period or perhaps at the end of every semester. 1 year goes away and there's no report. I think anyone that believes in accountability and transparency or education will not continue to pay your school fee. They will demand report. So this is the same situation. And if you see some of us crying that there should be persecution, it's not that we're trying to tackle certain individuals. But I see this as a national embarrassment. The people who contributed towards creating these problems where the World Bank has reduced the support they used to give to Liberia, reduced that support. The reason they did that, it was due to corruption. And it was just few individuals, less than 10% of the people in this country who are market the resources of this country. They are less than 10%. Interestingly, some of them, they have families, they live in this country, they are victims of corruption. They saw how this country was plunged into civil war where people were killed, people were displaced. We would have expected that after 14 years of civil unrest, look at Sierra Leone, they fought war, look at Rwanda. Almost 800,000 people lost their lives. Here in Liberia, 14 years have gone. Why are we now projecting a future? And this is why I always say to people, I'm hoping that this government, I'm begging President Bwaka, don't compromise the prosecution. Whoever that is involved, and let me just emphasize, Mr. President, if you do not prosecute, people will continue to loot this country. And some of us, we are getting to our injury time now. We are growing every day. And I'm hoping that things can be addressed so that donors will start giving us money rather than reducing the money they are giving us.
Okay, I'm sure Koto Jala Balayan has been following the program, and tonight she's one of the panelists. So welcome to Nightline Liberia, Koto.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm glad to be part of the panelists tonight discussing the issue of Liberia. And I don't know what I can go to the issue now that you brought
Thank
up.
you.
I don't know what I can go to the issue now that you brought up. Hello, am I there? I'm not hearing. Hello, am I there?
Yes, you are live.
Okay, thank you very much. I listened to you when you brought up the issue on the World Bank contribution towards the rural project and why is it reduced.
Koto. Okay, let's go to Cisse Goya.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Cisse.
Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me? Thank you. Yep. It's nice to be on, and wonderful. Thanks for the invitation. Hey, Vandela, my man, I see you in a long time. It's nice catching up with you. Wonderful. Thanks for the invitation. Hey, Vandela, my man, I see you in a long time. Nice catching up with you here.
Thank you.
So you've been following the discussion as it relates to the report today by the General Auditing Commission, especially from the Auditor General. And we've just discussed or been discussing the portion of the raw assets project. And I posed the question concerning the donation by the Liberian government towards the World Bank, which of course was reduced from over 40 million to 35 million. And then in that report, the GSC revealed that there were no evidence that the government paid towards that project. So how did we get there in terms of that? Because if that report revealed that there was no money of such paid towards that project, and then earlier they decided to pay X amount of over $40 million plus, and then the World Bank, who is our biggest donor, reduced that. How did we get there? Because I'm so concerned about the reduction in the amount that they got.
Thank you. It says the host muted my mic, so I don't know if you're still hearing me. Okay, because it said the host muted my mic. So thank you so much. I want to look at this holistically. So I think you talk about 47 million being reduced to 35 million. In my rough calculation, that's about $12 million. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money that now government has to go look for in other places that we could be assigning to healthcare, to education, to security, to agriculture. That now we have to take to try to go back and fill in this hole. I think that is a problem, but I'm looking at this also as a tip of an iceberg, right? And I know it's because this is a donation from a foreign entity, so we take that usually in Liberia to be a big deal. But I also want to just look at how are we really checking? What is a system check that we have to ensure that monies that are given for certain things are actually used for those things, and the World Bank project being one of those. But I really want to focus on our budgets, for example. Do we have a way of checking that budgetary allotments do not fall in the same problem, because we're just looking at the road conditions, right? And we're looking at money not being put in there that was earmarked for that. But I'm also thinking about education, for example. Have we checked to see the amount of money we allocate budgetarily for education, that at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of the budget year, that we go back to check to ensure that those allocations were actually carried out as defined and specified by law and as voted upon by the legislature? I think this is a bigger problem. We're just looking at this and because it's donors' money. But I think this sends a trend that it also happens with healthcare delivery. How much money we have assigned for the healthcare sector, and how much of that money actually goes to what it was allocated for. And so I will hope that this government and any serious government will first look at the reduction and say, okay, what do we need to do to ensure that we build back our credibility so that we get back to where we need to be? But how do we then make sure that we are taking decisions and we're putting in place mechanisms that will ensure that we don't have a repeat of this with donors' money, but particularly so with the Liberian people money that gets allocated for budget? Liberian people money that gets allocated for budget.
Okay. So we are still discussing the issues about the road assets project that was revealed by the GSC today in their report. And just a reminder that this is Nightline Liberia live on ELBC Radio 99.9, and it's being relayed on LNTV. And so shortly at 9:30, we will be opening the lines to interact with our callers so that they tell us more about the discussion or how they feel about what we've been discussing since the onset of the show. Well, back to the roles. An opposition lawmaker who happens to be the senator of Grand Jide County, Senator Zoe Penner, has given a pat on the back of the government for the rehabilitation of the Southeastern Road. And so he said when the government is doing good, though he's from the other side, he needs to say that, and people need to know exactly what the government is doing or will be doing. And so today he said a lot, that he's proud that Grand Jide, he can speak for his county, that they are no longer taking hours on the road. And then coming from Monrovia to Zweju is almost less than 9 hours. And so he said the rehabilitation of the Southeastern Road is a major boost. And then he's appreciating the government and people of Liberia, especially President Joseph Boyka, for that initiative within the arrest agenda. So coming from a person like Senator Zoe Penner, who's on the other side, what do you make of his statement concerning the roads issue and appreciating the president for what he has done within 7 months or less than that? Samson?
Thank you. So that statement from Honorable Zoe Penner is not a surprise to me. I remember about 2 months or so before the election, Honorable Zoe Penner publicly warned the CDC-led government that the road in the Southeast, if they are not at the issue of the road in the Southeast, if they are not addressed, that they most likely might not win the election. And he made that statement publicly. So I'm not that surprised. Now, the issue with the road in the Southeast, yes, while we're jubilating and what have you, we also have to be mindful now that these are fixing. They are not permanent. Now, you can have a fix. As a road engineer, I would say, you can have a fix. But if you have a fix, and you do not address the root cause that caused the problem in the first place, you will still continue to face the same issue. For example, you have these roads that are being utilized by different vehicle weight sizes, different sizes of the vehicle going on those roads. Now, if you do not specify, because when you're fixing these things, your structure section of the road itself, it's not something you're going to beef off, because you're thinking that this is a fix. And if the structure section that's supposed to support the weight of these trucks, of these heavy duty trucks, if the structure section is not beat off, you will go back to the same condition. You might see the grader come out and grade it, and you see the other kind of clay, because most of the southeastern soil are clay anyway. So when they grade these things, you see the clay shining, the sun shine on the clay, and you see all of the bright lights. Say, well, yes. Well, however, clay it's not permeable easily. You're going to have to, and clay shear like any other thing. So if you do not address the root cause, which is the weight of these vehicles that plow the road, if you do not address that, you're going to put us back into the same condition. So why I do appreciate the senator being truthful to say my people have not been relieved with all of these issues on the road. I think it's an honest statement, and I don't think that he politicizing it, and I don't think that he's doing it to throw CDC opposition on the bus. He just been factual, and he just been truthful, and I think we should appreciate that as well. Now, one last thing I want to say on this road issue here, Ben and Fabian, and that is President Bakai have always said roll. And he knows exactly what he wants to do. And that's exactly what he is addressing. Now, President Bakai is not an engineer. He's not an engineer. He employed people to carry out his policy. Those people must come out. They have some good engineers at Public Works Ministry. These people must come out and do what is necessary so that 2, 3, 4 months down the line, we don't fall back into this hole. I have here with me is a book by the Swedish government that give Liberian people money, and not only the money, they give them how to fix these roads. And this was done back in, 2018 or 2019. They told them how to fix these roads. And they are not even applying these fixes. And you expect to say that, yes, indeed, you will achieve what the president wants out of these things. As an engineer, I doubt it. Things as an engineer, I doubt it.
Okay. So there you go. This is Nightline Liberia on ELBC Radio 99.9, and it's been relayed on LNTV. And so we go back to we start now to interact with callers, and the numbers to call tonight are 0880-514-096, 0880-514-096, 0772-876-481, 0772-876-481. These are the numbers to call to be part of the program tonight on Nightline Liberia. And we've been discussing issues about the other report being revealed today as it relates to Liberia Road Access Project. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, caller. What's your name? Hello, caller.
Good evening, since good evening to your co-panelists in studio. This is Mixing Tomo. I'm doing for electoral district number 15. Research to be located down.
Go ahead, let's hear you.
I listened to your panelists in studio talking about road, but my attention has been drawn from the road leading from the Kiboto Fish all the way leading to the Sequoia area. If there is a funding for that road, and if yes, how much did the government put into that road funding? So I want to know. Thank you.
Hello, caller. Well, you've just listened to him, and so we have this video about Senator Zoe Pennon today when he addressed some journalists and others at the Capitol concerning what he mentioned, giving the government pat on the back for the rehabilitation of the Southeastern Road. Oh, good evening, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Steven F. Cosback Jr. phoning you from Lower Maggie B.
Let's hear you on the issues that we've been discussing.
Come again?
Let's hear you on the issues that we have been discussing.
What?
Let's hear you on the issues that we've been discussing. Have you been following the show?
Yeah, I've been following the show. I listened to the guy who made the analysis when it comes to the road system in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is Steven F. followed by Junior.
Go ahead, you live.
Yes, I've been for.
Well, he's not actually clear, but we go back to the line and take more calls. Okay, so let's go back to the video or Senator. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Peter Masuni. I call from Johnson Day.
Let's hear you.
Yeah, I must appreciate you guys for the show. Because the thing here is when it started, I get on one side, on the other end, the spoon, you go down there, you hear what they want to see it. But thank God I think the show is on Elbc. Thank you to the management team at Elbc, at least for revamping the system. Let's come to the issue. My concern is not about the road. I know the road part, it will be that I will be doing road maintenance until we can get a proper one. But my concern has been drawn to the audit report.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of the reasons that ever made me to vote this government, it was when I heard them talking about audit and prosecution. This is why I call all my colleagues and my family members who voted this government. So I want President Walker and begging him to look at it all in books so people can be brought to book. Those that committed this crime, they can be punished, and then the property that they acquired through all the years, they be confiscated and they be used for government purposes. If it is done, will be certified. But if President Walker closed eye on his audit report without prosecuting those people that are involved, it will be difficult for them 2029. Thank you.
Thank you. So you've just listened to a few callers concerning the topic that we had under discussion. And so they are commending President Boyka, and some are still saying about certain roles, but I think it's community role. Earlier, the first caller did talk about, but then the next caller mentioned about the roles in this arrest agenda. So what do you make of all what the callers have been saying concerning the rules? So we go back to is that Thomas? Yeah.
I was hoping we were going to take all of the calls before going forward, but for me, I see Zoe Penner's commendation of President Boyka as a potential shift within the opposition bloc. It kind of indicates that there's bipartisan support, meaning that you have oppositions learning positive developments within the government. All right. But then I'm also thinking that could he also be kind of trying to position himself, align himself with, these successful projects in order to gain favor with the electorates? Who knows? These are politicians. Okay. But thirdly, I'm also thinking that there is beginning to be an internal division within the opposition. Okay, because when others support, the ruling government, and then others have opposing views, that's an indication of some fracture within the opposition. A majority of the oppositions are kind of like hoping that the old man will fail, but unfortunately, just within less than 6 months, you can see the development in the country. So I would say in less than those are two key things we should take a look at: the bipartisan support, Penner trying to strategically align with the government so that he can give favor with his electorates, and then also the possibility of some internal division within the opposition. Possibility of some internal division within the opposition.
Okay, so
I wanted to give a suggestion. I don't know what I'm on. I think let's take the calls. Then from there we can begin to analyze. I don't know what calls are coming. We take all the calls, and then maybe we will have to play the video of the Grand Julia County Senator. After the calls, then we can better do that. I don't know what calls are coming.
Calls aren't coming in now,
Okay,
so
so
we can
proceed,
we can play the video for people to listen
What
to.
I'm going to say here now, you can go and do your own research. You don't need visa to go in the Southeast or to go to Grand. What I'm going to say here now, you can go and do your own research. You don't need visa to go in the Southeast or to go to Grand. This time around, July, today being July 17th. Years back in Liberia. This time around, July, today being July 17th. Come from Grand Julia. You need weeks in Liberia in the month to reach the Monrovia or to even to get to Nimaganta, the neighboring county, to Grand Julia, to get to River G. It was not easy. I'm so grateful to this government. We will take this time to extend our thanks and appreciation to His Excellency President Joseph Yima Boyka Senior, Excellency, for the kind of hard work President Joseph Yima Boyka Senior ensure the great people of Grand Julia County. Kind of hard work today, and ensure the great people of Grand Julia County. A son or daughter, or father or mother can drive from Grand Julia in commercial car, son or daughter, and dressing your white suit from Grand Julia, and you reach the Monrovia commercial car in 6 to 7 hours. Dressing your white suit. If you have a private car, you reach the Monrovia. I tell you, it takes about 6 hours to 6.5 hours. If you have a private car, any part of Grand Julia you want to go, more especially Red Road, the county capital. The last time when I asked my oldest brother to go and visit our relatives in Africa, I gave him two of my car. When I asked my oldest brother to from my house, our relatives in Africa, I gave him two of my car. Avoran border, two-town border, house from Monrovia straight there. It took him 4 hours 45 minutes. Two-town border. That was in June. From Monrovia straight there. And now today being the 17th of July, I was in June. As you speak. And now the road still remains the maintenance. July. I don't understand. We're gonna matter. The road still remains the Minister of Public Works, a Deputy Minister for Technical Services. The Minister of Public Works, a Deputy Minister for Technical Services. That the people in Grand Julia County, people in Grand Julia County, going to play today. That the people in Grand Julia County can drive from Grand Julia to Monrovia. They can drive from Zredru straight to Monrovia. They can drive from Zredru straight to Yekepa. They can drive from Zredru straight to Monrovia. They can drive from Zredru. We are grateful to this government. Being the people's senator. So we are grateful to this government. We should speak the fact. Being the people's senator. And I'm a traditional person. I grew in the interior, and now our crown people get a parable. Now, if you did something for me or for any of my relatives, telling you thank you, that will motivate you more to do another thing for another family president, another friend. So when the government is doing this, you've been suffering for years. Another family president, another for years. So when the government our impediment in South, more especially we that from Grand Julia County for years. Today, our impediment in the South is more I can we that from Monrovia now. Now after 2, I can give you one of my cars and go to Grand Julia now. By 7 p.m. you'll be able to call to say I'm back. And go to Grand Julia now. By 7 p.m. you'll be able to call to say I'm back. 5 to 6.
The voice of Grand Julia County Senator Zopena giving the governor a pat on the back for the rehabilitation of the Southeastern Road. And he said the road has reduced huge transportation burden that have been endured by citizens in the area. And you just listen to the senator. He's an opposition senator within this government. And so let's go back and announce the numbers so that we entertain calls from our callers. Numbers to call are 008-514-096, 008-514-096, 077-2876-481. 0772. We have a caller. Hello, caller.
Good evening.
Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me say good evening to all the panelists. This is Audit, Abu Menska, and final discussions from District Sector as the couple route. Let me appreciate you guys. When it comes to the issue of the rules, more especially in the Southeast, let me thank the President, His Excellency, Dr. Joseph Yima Boyka, for doing extremely well and continues to improve road connectivities for the ordinary masses. So when I listen to the senators and the Zoe panel, I felt proud. At certain point in time, tears went down for my team to hear the senator say that Liberians in the southeast were buying half black correct for 6,000, 7,000. For today, under the watch of His Excellency, Liberians are buying half black for 3,008, while we are buying a year 35. So you see, that is the reason we vote for change. Now, we are not saying that the road is paved or quota is there, but the road maintenance, our people able to leave the southeast, and come to spend Christmas with some of us. Look at gasoline now increase, and he spoke about the good. You used to sport on the road. All the chicken feed, it used to get rotting 3, 4, 5, 6 days on the road. But today, the people are examples of the road. We share this thing, but people want to be so sycophantic to the discussion, to the discourse. They don't.
Thank you there. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello.
Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is P.F. Samuel, and I join you from a District 1 resident, Mosorado County.
Now let's hear you.
Let me say a very big thank you to you for this program, for the Nightline Liberia. I do have another area that we can spend the night every evening. So let me go to the issue. My issue had to do with the olive report from the GAC. You know, the report is very bad to the extent that we now, the common people, will feel the pinch. How can you have a country, you have only few, I said with Patrick Fadala, like we were talking about prosecution, the government, the first thing the government need to do or take serious is to prosecute those that are responsible for some of the acts. That's the only way people in government presently will be afraid to do some of the things. So the issue of all the government shouldn't take it light, they should take it serious. It will put them on a red path. But if the government fail to prosecute people that committed some of these crimes, at the end of the day, that means we will not have anything. Then business will be as usual. So,
hello, caller. What's the name and where are you calling from? Hello, caller. Are you there, caller? Well, I think his line was so bad, and so he went off. And you've been listening to the few callers that we had commending the government and commending the GSC for the report. Hello, caller.
Yeah, good evening.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Steven F. Cordova Jr. calling for Lower Miami.
You live. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the topic on the discussion. You know, I listened to the analysis made to the Garden Institute. You know, I agree with him. There's a need that those road are currently that they are facing, that those people that are working with the public so that they can inspect those roads properly before within 1 year, 2 years time we get to know that all those roads are already damaged or is already spoiled. Because President Joseph Walker did not come from that background to say, oh, you can determine if this road has for a certain amount of time. So you have to bring our expertise from the abroad or whatever in, so at least they will examine every road or that project that will be going on within the country, that it will tell, oh, this road will last for 2 months. You have to write like, even the road that they face in President William regime, you get to know that some places are falling. And definitely it's not very good. How will you face a road in any good, even 2 years?
Hello, caller. We have a caller on the line. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, caller. Hello? Hello, caller?
Hello.
Yes, you have 30 seconds. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Fading, how are you? This is Noah Zawu Gibson here.
30 seconds, please, Noah. Go ahead.
Thank you. Fading, I called basically to start with the road issue. One of the callers said there's a need for the road to be inspected, so to ensure that it is done properly to avoid it spoiling in a short period of time. This is why the public works minister had told you that the 22 million, 8.9 million are already been used. The remaining will be used to maintain the road for 2 years until the road is ready to be paved. So no one should worry on that. You listen to Zoe Penner. He said he did not even know the kind of mechanism that were put into place to make the road pliable in this time of the country. So it tells you the roads are good. The road will be maintained for 2 years until it is in readiness for pavement. Now, on the audit report, the first thing we must commend the government, because President Bwaka promised that he would have audited this government. He had done just that. He has started that. It shows that the statement he made about auditing the government was not just an empty promise. Indeed, the auditing process is ongoing. Before you talk about prosecution, you must first audit and bring to light what you need to prosecute. Then you can talk about prosecution, but I am of the strongest conviction that there will be prosecution. But let's commend the government first for fulfilling its promise and auditing the past government as was promised by President Bwaka. On the issue of prosecution, we will prosecute.
Thank you there, Noah Zawu. Well, you are listening to the callers that just called concerning the issues. So you have to you have time, like maybe like 30 seconds to respond to those issues that the callers raised, and then we found time to wrap up. So we begin with Vandala. 30 seconds before we go to the next panelist.
Thank you. I think it's very clear that the burden relief by the president, by rehabilitating the roads in the southeast is good. And I want to join Senator Zoe Emmanuel Penner. I think he's being objective. This is the kind of leaders we want in this country. When things are bad, you criticize. When things are good, you appreciate. I think his commendation to His Excellency President Bwaka was in the right direction. I'm sure he's following events in Grand County. I think it's good. On the issue of the audit, I want to do this in closing. We all love government. I don't think no Liberian is against any president or any public official in the country. We are asking this government to proceed. The reason people are apprehensive that business will be as usual is because we've seen these things happening in the past. But for me, I'm confident because in less than 1 year or 6 months, this president promised to establish War and Economic Crimes Code, something that I personally campaigned, and it came in less than 100 days. We are also encouraging the president, don't listen to hearsay. Don't be pushed to do something out of the way. Move in the direction, implement the rule of law, and hold people accountable. Thank you. It was pleasant being here tonight.
Thank you, Vadala. And let's hear you, Cisse Goba.
Cisse Goya. Thank you very much. I think a lot of the callers were talking about accountability, and I think that's what a lot of Liberians have been asking for, that you don't just get a report that comes out and then there's no action, right? They're asking for actions this time. And on the issue of Zoe Manuel Penner, Senator Penner, I think we have to get away from this them versus us thing that we're doing in Liberia, opposition versus to borrow the Nobel laureate's term, imposition. Why can't people just do things for the right thing without us looking at it through a lens of opposition and imposition? I think we've gotten to a place where Zoe Manuel Penner is showing political maturity. And I don't think this is a calculation for his re-election, because if it were for a re-election, he knows what it looks like back in Grand Jide. He understands that Josiah Nyima Boakai did not win Grand Jide, so it doesn't help him to support Josiah Nyima Boakai. So I think this issue and the pressures that were rained down by Senator Pena, I think is good. I think our Liberian people need to understand that we can agree and we can disagree, and even though we might not share the same political ideology, there might be some good things you do, and I have to be able to make sure and say, yes, that thing you did is good. But as it is right now in Liberia, if I'm in position and I say let's inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, somebody in opposition will say, no, we're not doing it. I'm not going to breathe in oxygen because somebody in government said breathe in oxygen. I think we got to get far away from that. And the last thing before I leave here is to say that audits are not usually only meant to show theft. Audits are also meant to show systemic failures. And so we're asking for audits not only to show theft, but audits of all of our governing system. So, for example, is our curriculum system working for our schools, right? What shows that we are working or not working? Is our healthcare delivery system working based on how we are funding it? What shows that it's working and what shows it's not working? So I think we need to get away from this idea that audit is just meant to show theft. It should also be meant to show systemic failures that we can be able to help out. Thank you so much for having me tonight. To also be meant to show systemic failures that we can be able to help out. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you, Cesar. Let's hear you, Thomas. 30 seconds.
I think all of the guys have already touched the points that I would definitely, brush upon. Like I said, Penon's acknowledgement of the government development projects, especially the road, speaks volume about the government's achievements. And this also resonates with the people. I'm looking at 3 different areas, talking about visible progress. Okay, tangible improvements in infrastructure is basically directly impacting the lives of the people. Credibility, this is government campaigns promises that it's been translated into real development. So it builds the trust and confidence in leadership. And then improve livelihoods of the people. So you have better roads means better access to goods and services, enhancing the quality of life. So if the government continues on this path, I can tell you, it's going to be the government of the people. Thank you. It's going to be the government of the people.
Thank you, Thomas. So let's hear you, Samson, your parting comments.
Thank you. I have 2 comments here. One is about the other report. Thank you. I have 2 comments here. One is about the other report. And the fact that they say that the World Bank the report they use President Boakai hand to make sure that people, those who are responsible for that reduction, get the information, because the World Bank is not going to increase until those type of situation. World Bank see that people are being punished. Now, on the issue of the role as an engineer, I'm not going to praise the entire process because the safety aspect of it is not there. But what I saw, what you just showed here, what I saw was they lifted the road up, which allowed the water to get out of the road itself and go into the gutters, which is fine. But as far as the safety aspect as an engineer, it's not something that I'm going to be dancing about. So I will also ask Fabian, if I can get that video to expand on a little bit more, I will appreciate it. But thank you for the show tonight, and we really appreciate it. Tonight, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And then thank you to our panelists for tonight's program. We've been discussing issues concerning the GSC audit report about the Rural Access Program, and then coupled with the statement made by Senator Zoe Penner of Grand Jide County, giving a pat on the back of the government for the rehabilitation of the Southeastern Road, which of course he said will reduce the burden of so many things as it relates to transportation, gasoline, and our staple food. And so, listeners, this is how we come to the end of this program. Remember, this program has been live on Elbc Radio 99.9 and relayed on LNTV. And so we come to an end to this program. And tomorrow we will be here for another fresh edition with trending issues along with our panelists. My name is Fabian Kui. I've been your moderator.
The Department of New Media and Rebranding of the Liberia Broadcasting System presents Nightline Liberia. From the valleys of Liberia to the top of Wologisi Mountain, Nimba, Grand Kipmouth, River G, to the coast of Sino, Bassa, Bong, Riverses, Maryland, Margibi, Grand Cru, Bapolu, Grand Jide, and Monserrado. We present to you Nightline Liberia, a primetime talk show loaded with factual news, fresh information, not fiction. Nightline Liberia